Hey, what's up guys? Welcome back to Coxie Tutorials and Gameplay. I'm sorry it's been a really long time since my last tutorial, which was part 14, the continued enemy animation tutorial for Mechanim. I've actually had quite a fair bit going on since I made that last tutorial. I was sick for a few weeks. I had shingles, which for those of you that haven't had it before, I can assure you it really is not much fun at all. And then not long after I got over that, my second daughter was born, little Alia Rose. She was born on the 18th of February, which is quite awesome. But as you can imagine, our household has been quite busy. I have two daughters now. I've got one who is 10 years old, Ashley, and now my little daughter Alia, who's about 6 weeks old at the moment. Also, as most of you guys know, I study games programming, and I've been working on a mobile game for Android for that, because that was sort of the specifications for the game I had to create for this course, for the first game. And yeah, so that's been taking up a lot of my time as well, because I've never made a mobile game before. So yeah, I apologise, but as I said, I've had quite a fair bit going on. What we're going to do today, I think, is we'll make like a weapon pickup script so that we can start the player off with no weapons, and then for now we'll just do the minigun, and you can see the minigun on the ground, and then just walk over it and pick it up. Okay, also I should probably mention, as you've noticed, this level has changed a lot since the last tutorial. I just sort of stuffed around with this for about an hour before I did this tutorial, and I've basically just made prefabs of the important things. So just make a prefab of everything you want to keep from our last level, especially the minigun, the first person controller, all that stuff, the enemies, the bunkers, all that kind of stuff. And yeah, make sure you make prefabs of that. I just basically went on the asset store and grabbed like this rock here, which is a lot smaller, and I've just resized that and moved that around the map a few different times. I got this this bridge kind of asset off the asset store for free as well, and I just stuck them all together just really roughly and just sort of made this bridge going up here on the mountain. And also these bushes here, I just got these free off the asset store and just sort of stuck them around randomly as well. So yeah, you guys can go ahead and sort of work on your level design a little bit if you want. Spend a lot more than an hour like I did, and you could probably make it look quite decent just with some free assets. These are the enemies from before that I've just prefabbed, so I can just sort of put them around wherever I want on the level. And there's one of our bunkers. So everything still works fine. If you do start an entirely new level, just make sure that you make another spawn point for when we have to respawn. Okay, that just about covers it. So what we might do is I'll just kill this guy. And we'll get started on today's tutorial. So, as I said, make prefabs of all your stuff. If you're going to start an entirely new level like me, especially make prefabs, or you can just add on to the level that we were working on before. It's no big deal. Do whatever you want to do. And as you can see, because this stuff is blue now, it means I've made prefabs of this stuff here. So there's my minigun right there. So if you don't remember how to make a prefab, I think you guys should, because I've made a few. You just grab your minigun, drag it down, or whatever object you want to make prefab, drag it down into here, or if you've got a prefabs folder, straight into there, and it will make a prefab of that object. And then when you click on it, you'll see this little blue cube here, which lets you know it's a prefab. I did stick like just a box on the end of our minigun. I am going to make this better, but I just didn't want it to have just the pipe sticking out the back, so I've made it like this. I'll just move it away from my player a bit. So I'll move it over here. I just want to have a look and see what it looks like in the world, and it is tiny. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'll just resize this, make it quite big, and I'll just move it off the ground a bit so it sits nicely. Just have a look at that. Okay, that looks a bit better. Maybe we can make it a little bit bigger again. Okay, so that should be pretty good. Yep, sweet, that's fine. As you can see, it's a pretty rubbish looking minigun, but yeah, we can work on it. It'll be fine. So what we also want to do, I'll just show you something quickly. If I shoot this minigun here, see, this one does everything that my one that I'm holding does, because it's a prefab. Same object with the same scripts and animations on it, so we don't really want that. So what we want to do is probably go to the minigun, the one, not the one we're already holding. I'll just close that because this is the actual prefab one we've placed. Make sure you don't mess around with the one that our player's actually holding just yet. So the one that we just put on the ground, click on that, go to the spinning. You can just disable these scripts, disable everything, disable the animation. You can remove the components completely if you want, I don't really care. So that should be fine now. And what we also want to do to this minigun that we've placed on the ground is we just want to add a component. Make sure you add it to the parent, the minigun object, sphere collider, and we want to make this sphere collider a trigger, and we also just want to make the radius probably a bit bigger, because how we're going to do it is we're going to have it so our player walks into this sphere collider, just like for when we open our doors, and if this sphere collider is a trigger, and it will know that something tagged as the player, which we are tagged as the player, and you guys should be tagged as the player. So if the player walks into this sphere collider here, it's going to automatically pick up this minigun. I'm not going to make it so we have to push a button or anything to pick it up. For now, I'm just going to do it so that you walk into this collider and you will automatically pick up this gun. Okay, so also what we want to do, oh, no, it doesn't matter. We'll just disable the minigun in the script anyway. You'll know what I'm talking about in a minute. So go back to your main folder, into your scripts. Where are they? My scripts. And create a new JavaScript, and we'll just call it weapon pickup, and then just open that up. I'm using Visual Studio as well, guys, now, because I've actually been coding in all C for the school project I've been working on. So yeah, I've found that Visual Studio is a lot better than MonoDevelop, and C# is actually a lot better than using JavaScript once you start to wrap your head around it. It's not that much different than JavaScript. So yeah, what we're going to do, first of all, I'll just quickly show you. If you guys want to use Visual Studio instead of MonoDevelop, make sure you download Visual Studio, and then in Preferences, in External Tools, you can pick from MonoDevelop or Visual Studio 2015. So yeah, go back into Visual Studio, and this is going to be a very simple script as well. So we're just going to do a couple of variables. So var the weapon. So the weapon we want to excuse me, the weapon that we are going to be holding is going to be set to inactive. So this is going to be that weapon, and it's going to be a game object, and going to do another variable which is going to be weapon equipped, and this is going to be a boolean. So true or false statement, and we're going to do function start the weapon dot set active false. So at the very start of the game, when we start our game, we want this weapon here, which is going to be the weapon that we're actually holding in our hand, which is our minigun at the moment. So when we start the game, it's going to turn that off so it's not active. So I'll just show you. You probably know what I'm talking about straight away, but some people might not, so I'll just show them. So as you can see up here, you've got this little box and it's ticked, and you can see the minigun in my hand. So what that line of code will do is when we start the game, it'll turn, oops, sorry, not the first person controller, what am I thinking? The actual minigun. When I start the game, it'll take that off, alright? And so the minigun will be in our hand, but you won't be able to see it, so it'll look like it's not in our hand at all. Okay, so we'll go back into our script, and what we want to do now is we want to make a function update. I don't know why I deleted them at the start, but I just kind of like to do it all myself now. Function update, and we are going to actually hang on. We want equip to be false as well. Of course we do. So also in function start, sorry, we want this boolean to be false. So weapon equipped equals false when we start the game. Okay, so back to function update. Just do a simple if statement. If weapon equipped is equal to true, yeah, no, we're not gonna. No, we don't want to do this. This is fine. We don't need this at all. If for example, like we wanted to add some code in here so that we picked up a gun and you wanted to add in like ray car shooting or something like that, you could add that in here, but we don't need to do that because we've already got like a minigun that has all that stuff already. We're actually going to make it so that each gun we make has its own script attached to it, so that we can have different guns, like a minigun with automatic fire, maybe a pistol, things like that. So you'll understand better when we actually do it, but for now all we really need to do is make the function on trigger enter the same as our door script, so that it recognizes when we walk into the collider for the gun that we want to pick up. So what we want to do is make a function. Sorry, as I said, I've been using C, so I'm sort of struggling getting back into using JavaScript because I haven't used it for a while, because usually you would write a void instead of function if you're using C#, and there's a few other differences as well. We'll just call it the collider, and it is of type collider. Don't worry about it making everything red. It's just because I'm using Visual Studio now. It's going to do that because there's other ways to do this, but this will work fine. So function on trigger enter the collider, which is a collider, which is going to be our sphere collider that we have tagged as a trigger. I mean, we haven't tagged it, we've just made it a trigger, sorry. And in here we are going to just write if the collider dot game object dot tag is equal to player, which we want to put quotation marks like that. Then the weapon dot set active is now going to be true. And weapon equipped now equals true as well. And then we want to destroy the actual weapon. So this is the weapon we're picking up off the ground, that's got the collider on it. So once we've picked that weapon up off the ground, we obviously don't want it to still be on the ground, so we will just destroy game object. We don't need to put a timer or anything on it, we just want it to go to be destroyed as soon as we pick it up. We don't need the function update for now. As I said, I was thinking I was going to add some more to this code, but I forgot that we already have the minigun with all the working stuff, so we don't need to worry about it. So save all and then go back into Unity, and now we need to click on the gun, the one that we've placed on the ground, the prefab, the one that has the sphere collider, and it should be tagged. Oh, sorry, it should be is trigger, ticked as is trigger. I keep wanting to say is tagged. I've actually tagged it as minigun as well. You don't need that. That's just something else I was mucking around with, which we probably will end up tagging it in the future, but for now we don't need to worry about that. So to save confusion, I'll make it untagged just like yours. And we want to grab the little script that we just made. Up here you can click on this little lock and that'll keep the inspector for this minigun up regardless of what I do. So now when I click down here, it'll still keep that up. And weapon pickup, drag that into here, and the weapon is going to be the weapon we're actually holding. So make sure you do the minigun that we're actually holding, not the one that's on the ground. So this one here, put that in there. Make sure you click off this lock, otherwise it's going to stay on this inspector the whole time no matter what you do. Alright, so I'll push play and we'll test it out. So as you can see, as soon as we start the game, the minigun that we were holding before is no longer active. Alright, so we should walk over this and bang, now we picked up the minigun and it's fully working minigun that we had. So that's pretty cool, and we'll probably make an array so that we can pick up all different types of guns and things like that, but for now this will do, just to give you guys the idea of how to do it. So yeah, so you start off the game now and you don't have a weapon, which is probably good. Like, you don't usually start a game and you've already got a minigun with unlimited ammo and stuff like that. So yeah, I'll just grab this. I just want to show you guys one thing before I go, you might be interested in. I just want to show you some of the level that I made, and as I said, this took me exactly 1 hour to make this level, so you guys can make something a lot better. But with the water over here, in the very first tutorial for this series, I actually made dam banks for the water and put them in there, and on this one I actually made the water so that it's underneath the ground properly like real water. There's no dam banks just sort of holding the water in. So when you start your new level, you just basically do your terrain height to a certain height. So I think I made the terrain height 20, and then when I drop the terrain height down, as you can see, the water in this level, it's actually under the terrain. It's not sitting on top of the terrain. So yeah, I don't know if you guys are interested in that, but I thought that was pretty cool. It's a good way to do it. And when I do the next tutorial series, which is going to be the C# one, I'll show you, if you don't know how to do that. It's quite easy. And these rocks that I got off the Unity asset store, as you can see, I've just got the same rock over again and resized it and just sort of chucked it around the level. So yeah, this is just the basic level that I whipped up. So yeah, anyway, hope you guys enjoyed the tutorial. It's good to be back, and I hope you learned something from it, and I'll see you in number 16. Okay guys, thanks for watching. Cheers.